Hey, what's going on? My name is Andy Monroe, the co-founder of Bullish Events, and in this video, I'm going to be walking you through 5 mistakes that are killing your live event profits. And the reason I know that these mistakes I'm about to walk through are killing your live event profits is because they killed my live event profits. I've made every single one of these mistakes on this list, so I just want to make this video to help anybody else that's in the live events game to avoid these mistakes. All right, with all that being said, let's jump right into it. So the first mistake that I want to talk about is room block attrition. So I would recommend either avoiding this entirely or significantly under committing to the room block. So if you guys don't know what a room block attrition is, this is when you go to a venue, let's say it's a hotel or resort. This doesn't really apply to convention centers or any other type of event venue that you could throw an event at. This is mainly for hotels and resorts. But you go to these hotels and resorts and you commit to them that you're going to sell a certain amount of rooms to your event attendees, and they'll usually give you a discounted rate on those rooms along with some other benefits. And on paper, it seems like a really good deal, and sometimes it is if you do it properly. However, what happens to most event hosts, including myself, is we overcommit to a room block and then we have to pay attrition once we don't fill that room block. Now, to write this example home, let's say that you commit to 100 rooms per night and you only sell 50 of them. You would then have to pay the difference of those 50 rooms that you didn't sell. And most of the time you can put a clause in the contract where you only have to fulfill a certain amount of the room block. It's usually like 80 to 85%. So in this case, if you committed to 100 rooms, you sold 50, you only had to fulfill 80 per night. You'd have to pay for all 30 of those rooms that you didn't sell. And I'm sure you can see how that can be very expensive. And if you have a very successful event where you have a lot of sponsorship revenue, you sell a lot of tickets, and you even sell your offer really well and you make a ton of money, a lot of that could be eaten up and absorbed by a bad room block attrition bill. So if you can avoid doing a room block, you can definitely do this. Sometimes you can just ask a venue, hey, I don't want to do a room block. I'm like, okay, fair enough, you don't have to. Or just host your event at a place that doesn't require a room block. And if you are going to do a room block, like we still do room blocks at a lot of our events, just make sure you significantly undercommit to how many rooms you are going to sell. I'm talking 30 to 50% of how many you're actually going to sell. So if you are going to have 100 to 150 attendees at your event, I would recommend doing like 30 to 40 rooms per night at most. You could even reduce that to 20 and 30 and then increase if you need, but I promise you, you do not want to get stuck with a room block attrition bill because it sucks. Last thing I'll mention down here is you can incorporate clauses into your contracts that protect you from attrition. And I'm not really going to dive into this. Actually, I'm not going to dive into this at all in this video because I made an entire video on this channel about certain clauses you can put into contracts to protect yourself from room block attrition. So if you want to figure out what those are, go and watch that video, but just know that you can protect yourself. You're not at the mercy of the resorts and the hotels and the venues. If you know what you're doing, you can, one, just commit to an appropriate amount of rooms for your contract, as well as incorporating clauses that protect you from ungodly amounts of attrition. Okay, moving on to number 2, not having VIP ticket options when you are selling tickets to your event. So if your event is free or you only have GA ticket options, you are leaving a lot of money on the table. VIP tickets can take your ticket revenue from negative to break even to a 2 to 3x ROI. Also, I've said this a lot before, but your VIP ticket holders are going to be your best attendees and they're most likely going to be your best buyers. But that's contingent on the fact that you deliver a good experience for them. The last thing you want to do is sell VIP tickets and not deliver a VIP experience. So if you do deliver a great experience for your VIPs, they're going to be your best attendees, meaning they're just going to have a great time at your event. And we have found, at least through our experience, that VIP ticket holders are most likely to buy your offer and they're most likely to stay inside of your offer, engage, and actually get results. And I have an example of this down here actually. So we're currently hosting an event that is very low ticket. The GA tickets are like $9. Actually not like $9, they're $9. And we ran projections and it's a pretty low budget event, but we knew that we would not be able to turn a profit off of $9 ticket sales. So we introduced a $497 VIP option. So the GA was $9, the VIP was $497, and they get access to a whole other day on top of the 1-day GA event. So there's a GA day and there's a VIP day. So before we introduced this VIP offer, we were probably not going to even break even. We're going to lose some money on the event. Now the event is sitting at a 2.5 to 3x ROI, and that's before the event has even started. We're probably going to sell some more VIP tickets at the event once we actually get there. And this event doesn't have an offer that's being sold. This is mainly for community building. But right now going into the event, sitting at a 2.5 to 3x ROI before we even start the event is pretty solid. So we're happy with that. And that's all from just introducing a VIP offer into the ticket stack. So if you do not have VIP ticket options inside of your ticket stack, you are leaving a lot of money on the table and you are killing your potential profits. Now, number 3, not having an offer to sell at your event. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself because I just said said, this example event up here does not have an offer, but there's a lot of nuance when it comes to this. But most of the time, you are leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't have an offer to sell at your event. And it really surprises me how many people in the space don't have an offer ready to sell at an event, or they don't even know that you can sell an offer at your events. And I take a lot of sales calls. I talk to a lot of people that are getting into the event space, and sometimes when I bring up selling an offer, I'll be like, hey, we're talking about this event. It sounds really cool. What offer do you want to sell there? And they're like, wait, what do you mean? What do I want to sell? I thought you just did an event, you sold tickets, and then you just kind of went on your way. And it's very common. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, you can make so much money by selling offers, high ticket offers at your live events. That's like one of the best parts about live events for you as the event host is how much revenue you can generate for your business. Now, this might be a controversial take. I don't really think it should be, but it might be. But in my opinion, I think if you don't sell an offer to your attendees, now, of course, disclaimer, there is some nuance here. Some events, an offer doesn't really fit in, like the ones that we're doing right now, the $9 event and the $497 VIP. Makes no sense to have an offer there. For back-end events like workshops and masterminds, it usually doesn't make sense to have an offer. But at an acquisition event, if you were doing an event to enroll clients into your business, or you're just doing an event to gain some traction around your business and your brand, if you don't have an offer to sell your attendees, you're underserving them. And the reason I believe this is because when you go to an event, let's say you're hosting an event, I'm going to make one up on the fly. Let's say you're hosting an event about real estate. House flipping. You do this event, and then the event is framed around getting people's house flipping business up and going. So they all come to this event. It's great. You deliver a ton of value for them. You actually get them their business up and running. Maybe you even file their LLCs, and you help them find their first 10 prospects, and you help them reach out to those prospects. Like, you move the needle a lot in their business. What happens when they go home after the event on Monday, they do something, it doesn't work? Like, where can they go? Who can they ask questions to? Like, what video can they watch to solve their problems? People are always going to need more help. And the tough part is when you solve problems for people, it just creates more problems down the road. And that's actually how we position our offers at live events is we solve 3 to 5 very painful problems for them at an event. And then we position the offer to be the thing that's going to solve the next 3 to 5 problems they're going to experience in this journey that gets them all the way to their desired outcome. So if you're not selling an offer at your event and you're just leaving your attendees hanging, in my opinion, I think you're underserving them. So with all that being said, I think you should definitely have an offer that you're selling at your live events. And something else to point out is most of our acquisition events that had a 3 to 5x ROI would have been break even or just slightly profitable, or maybe there's a few I can think of that might have been a little bit in the red if we didn't sell an offer at the event. So you can see that selling an offer at the event is a huge key revenue driver for the live event and for the event host business. All right, number 4, no follow-up. So this one comes from the pain of direct experience, and all these do come from direct experience, but this one hurts pretty bad because early on in my career in the live event space, we did multiple acquisition events that generated multi 7 figures. I can think of at least 3 acquisition events that we've done that generated well over $1 million. And we didn't really have a follow-up strategy in place. We did some things, the sales reps at the event got some contacts and they closed some people after the event. And there was one that we did an encore event for, but we didn't really have a really rock solid follow-up strategy and process for these events. And it kind of hurts me thinking about how much revenue we left on the table. And I don't even know why I made this mistake with live events, because when I first got started in this game, I was working at a company called Fun Launch, and that's where we've done some of our most successful acquisition events were at Fun Launch. And we would do weekly webinars and virtual events, and we would typically see around 50% of the revenue come in during the live event itself or during the virtual event itself, and then we would see 50% of the revenue come in after during the follow-up. So this is what I was raised in. I was conceived in this world of, hey, we're going to close half the revenue live, half the revenue in the follow-up. So when we did our first few live events and we didn't have a follow-up process in place, I was like, what are we doing? But that's okay. I'm definitely down to admit the mistakes I've made in this game, and not having follow-ups was definitely one we made early on with our acquisition events, and it killed the profits of those events and definitely left a lot of revenue on the table. So if you are hosting acquisition events, make sure you have a rock-solid follow-up process in place. And the last one I want to talk about is sponsors, and more specifically, not having sponsors. So again, speaking from direct experience, we have had hosted multiple 7-figure budget events, so events where we spent over $1 million, and we had 0 sponsors. And we tried to recoup all of that revenue through ticket sales so that we could at least break even when the event came around. And then all the other profit, all the other revenue was generated through high ticket upsells. And now looking back on it, I'm like, why didn't we have sponsors? If we just covered even a quarter or half the cost of the event with sponsorships, we would have generated so much more profit from those events. And at the time, the reasoning for not having sponsors was because we didn't want to dilute the brand of the event. You know, when you get sponsors and you have to put their logos on all the branding and you have to kind of like shout them out on stage, maybe give them speaking slots, and they're kind of like engraved inside of your event and like selling your attendees. It can be very transactional sometimes if you don't do it properly. And that was kind of our reasoning for not having sponsors on the early days, is we just wanted to like protect the brand of the event and just keep it to like one brand that was running it. But I kind of just see that as narrow thinking now, and I just think we didn't have the right strategy at the time. So now with almost all of our events, we make it a goal for ourselves to cover the cost of the event, at least cover the cost of our service fee with sponsorships, so that we can just increase the revenue and the profits our clients see from their events. So if you are hosting live events, please integrate sponsors into your event. And also, like, something else I want to say too is sponsors can be very valuable for your attendees, especially if they solve a very painful problem for your attendees that you don't solve. So maybe you are selling education on real estate and house flipping, and then there's like a CRM that you use for your house flipping business that you want your attendees to use as well. If you have that CRM come and sponsor the event, like, they're solving a very painful problem for your attendees, that one that you don't solve with your business, so it's not competitive. It's very complementary and it can really enhance the experience of the event. And also, we can go down this whole rabbit hole of like actually how to integrate sponsors into the event. We like to take a very experiential approach, so like the sponsors aren't just like sitting out in the hallways at booths trying to like, you know, flag down attendees and pitch them on the spot. We try to actually like weave them into the event so it all feels like it's a part of the experience and they're like providing value for the attendees. I've made a few videos on this channel about sponsors. I might make a few more in the future, but long story short, if you're hosting live events, I would definitely recommend having sponsors. All right, just a quick recap. So the 5 mistakes that are killing your live event profits, and the reason I know this is because they have killed lots of my live event profits. Number 1 is room block attrition. Number 2 is not having VIP ticket options. Number 3 is not having an offer to sell at your event. Number 4 is no follow-ups. And number 5 is no sponsors. So if you are a high ticket coach or consultant that is currently hosting events but not seeing the results that you want to get, or you are curious and interested about hosting live events for your business but you just don't know where to start, click the link down below in the description. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And also, if you found this video valuable, please drop a like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.